Hello, everyone, once again, and welcome to a Geek Syndicate review show where we're going to be talking about this year's, which is 2020, Doctor Who. So this is season 12, Jodie Whittaker's second season, and Chris Chibnall's second season as showrunner. We'll be looking in this first episode, we're going to be looking at Spyfall as a complete story. So it's both parts 1 and part 2. Because we entirely planned it this way and not because we didn't think about doing a recording until earlier this very week. So that's the reason we're sticking to it. You can't prove otherwise. With me today are my usual Doctor Who co-reviewer / my podcasting boss, who is over there. So I see I'm doing actions and you can't see the actions. I know. So I actually pointed at you.
Yeah, and technically I could actually say I'm the Time Lord because my nickname is the Nuge, which is a kind of Time Lord moniker. So, just saying.
Yeah, and as well, also with us today is a lady, a woman who can only be described as my better half.
Wow. Way to roll in the feminism by putting me as your wife, not as my own person. Hi, I'm Amy. For those of you who carefully avoid the Birds of Geek podcast, I am the bird of the geeks for that show.
And main host, let's not forget that.
Yeah, I'm main host, but
So here we are, Spyfall, parts 1 and part 2. Let's start with a bit of blurb. I have the blurb written down, so let's go through that. Intelligence agents around the world are under attack from alien forces, so MI6 turn to the only people who can help, the Doctor and friends. As they travel the globe looking for answers, attacks come from all sides. Earth's security rests on the team's shoulders, but where will this planet-threatening conspiracy lead them? Who wants to start off with some thoughts? I've spoken for a while now. So, just to let people know, there will be spoilers. Hard to avoid when it's two-parter and the middle bit does involve a cliffhanger. So if you haven't watched the episodes, please pause this, go away, watch part 1, watch part 2, and then come back. Or if you don't care, carry on listening anyway.
Cool. Amy, do you want to go first?
Part 1 was good. It was exciting. I enjoyed it as a Doctor Who episode and what it came, and I couldn't really see where part 2 was going to end up. And the cliffhanger, which I'll let other people reveal, I did not see coming. My favourite parts of it were trying to work out what the mystery monsters were in all their glowiness, because I know that as we were watching it, me and Anthony together, we were questioning whether they were Cybermen or something else, which was really, really interesting. And doing that, I liked the whole spy thing, and Lenny Henry surprised me. I didn't think he would be good at straight acting and like serious acting, because I only ever associate Lenny Henry with quite over-the-top comedy and bad hotel adverts. So I quite enjoyed it, and I was really excited for the second episode, and I was glad that I didn't have to wait too long for the second episode to appear.
What about you, B? What were your thoughts on part 1? We'll do. I say if we do a quick summary of part 1, then we'll delve into bits as we go.
Okay. So do you want to talk the spoiler now, or after you've done your impressions, and then we'll talk spoiler?
No, you can do spoiler now if you want. Okay. To.
Well, so for me, going into this, a quick 10-second rant. Stop spoiling stuff for people. Is my rant. So I went online to stupidly wish people Happy New Year after I'd got back from my holiday, and the first thing I saw was the big spoiler about the Master being in this. We've already said this is going to have spoilers, haven't we?
Yeah, we have. Yeah.
So that was completely spoiled for me before I'd even watched the episode. Plus, it had a picture of what he looked like. So I already thought, before I could even think, oh, is it going to be Missy? I was like, nope, it's this guy. And that changes the entire way you view the episode.
Yeah.
Because you know that guy's the Master.
Yeah.
You know, for a while I did sort of think, oh, maybe he's going to get taken. You know, maybe the Master was involved with the guy things, and like he was going to go into him and take him. You know, that was why he was doing all the rewriting the human DNA, and that was what was going to happen. You know, but it didn't. However, on saying that, I really enjoyed the episode. I felt that they've all settled into their roles a bit more, and possibly Chris Chibnall settled in more into writing for Jodie. I do have, you know, criticisms. We'll get onto those. I do think personally, people might disagree. I personally think the star that was that those last 5 minutes, even though I knew he was the Master, that dude, I'm gonna swear, that dude fucking nailed it.
Yeah, Sacha Darwin, he was superb.
He nailed it.
Amazing.
And just to slightly segue into the second episode, only slightly, I was worried because even though he nailed it, and I talked to Dave about this, I was worried because it felt a little bit like he was going down the John Sim route, as in he was going to be like, you know, wacky Master, wacky kind of, I'm a bit like the Joker Master. Whereas what we got was a kind of far more sinister, nasty Master than we've had before. He kind of felt, basically he played the Master how I wanted John Sims to do him.
Yeah.
And I thought he was brilliant. I thought he was brilliant. And yeah, it just lifted that episode for me. And it was a wicked cliffhanger as well. Yeah, that's how Doctor Who should be. It should be a two-parter with a cliffhanger. Boom. Over to you, Ed.
I agree with pretty much everything that you guys have said. I didn't see the Master twist coming. As Amy said, we did spend a lot of time. I actually felt a sense of mystery with the aliens. And to say there was one point, because I knew I'd read that there was going to be like a new, more terrifying breed of Cybermen. So there was part of me that was thinking, as Amy said, you know, is this the new Cybermen? Have they somehow gone like cross universal or whatever kind of thing? And you know, but so it was good to have that kind of sense of I don't know what's going on. I liked, on the surface, I liked the plot to do with the spies being in trouble, and then like the spy movie sort of thing of following Lenny Henry around and trying to investigate him, and the casino party and the car chase. But the general themes of it I quite enjoyed. My issues with the episode come down to another area of my nerdiness. And every time they did something that was related to the spy or security kind of stuff, I just rolled my eyeballs and sighed, because it was just, if you're going to do a spoof, do a spoof. If you're going to pretend it's realistic-ish, do something realistic-ish. And it was too much of trying to have your cake and eat it, and being an over-the-top Roger Moore Bond film while also trying to present it as a serious sort of situation. Kudos for calling the head of MI6C, which is more accurate than M. Not really anymore, being as the head of MI6 is public knowledge, but
yeah,
at least the Letracken was right. And I thought Stephen Fry was brilliant cast as well. I thought he's a good person to be a filmic or a televisual head of MI6. I did think it was wasted to have him, again, spoiler, bumped off so early. And I would have liked to have seen more of him. I'd have liked to have seen the guy sort of interact more with MI6 and the spy world as a whole. Having said that, the introduction of Sacha Darwin's character of O was great, and I quite like the fact that he wasn't a field agent, he was an analyst. They kind of introduced this sense of backstory between him and the Doctor. They'd met and worked together before, which made Jodie's reaction at the reveal later in the episode hit home a lot more.
Yeah.
Where I think that missed a step a bit was, and I was talking to a friend of mine at work who only started watching Doctor Who when Jodie Whittaker was cast. For a new viewer, no idea who the Master is.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, she kind of like had a vague idea that he was some kind of old enemy of the Doctor, but that was it, sort of thing. So I think on that point of view, it was one for me, I thought it was amazing because I got all the history and I thought it was great, and it was a really good reveal and a good twist, especially given we seem to have seen the character's endpoint in Peter Capaldi's last season. Obviously, it's Doctor Who, and those kind of things never stick, and there are always ways out and stuff. But as you say, I thought the fact that he'd been there, he'd met with the Doctor, and the fact that he was laughing about having worked with the Doctor before.
Yeah.
It just felt right, and it was the right level of. I've never liked the Insane Master, because the Master's supposed to be Moriarty.
Yes.
Russell T Davies brought him in and made him basically the anti-10th Doctor.
Yeah.
And that never sat well with me. Missy came in and was actually, in fact, when John Sim did work, was in the 12th Doctor's final story, where he was actually, he was the Master at that point. He wasn't just the insane, batshit crazy 10th Doctor. Missy, I thought, had a good balance between the kind of the plotting and the insane, but possibly edging a bit more on the insane thing, because she was good at Michelle Gomez was good at it and was funny doing it. So they played into that a bit too much.
It was more eccentric.
Yeah, but it was that kind of over the top eccentricity. It was kind of like eccentric, but she knows she's eccentric.
Yeah,
and played into it, and it worked.
It fitted her style of acting much more so than it did John Sim's style.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So as I say, for me, that was the only letdown, was for new viewers. It was kind of like, oh, I don't know who that is, sort of thing. But I think he played it superbly. And moving on to sort of part 2 as well, the way he was portrayed throughout the whole story, throughout Spyfall story as a whole, was to me a lot more of the Master. Although I'm a little bit kind of on edge about him just killing indiscriminately, because again, yes, the Master is a killer, but he's not really an indiscriminate killer. He kills for purpose because people are in his way. But that's neither here nor there. He's clearly, as we found out at the end of part 2, he's clearly been through some stuff as well.
Yeah.
So I'm quite happy with that. So that's kind of brought us into part 2, I think.
Can I just say before we get? I had a major gripe, and this is my kind of nerdy thing, and I'm sure people will go, oh no, but they've said. My thing was, I get the fact that you've got a different showrunner, and to a certain extent there's an element of a soft reboot, but I really struggled with the whole, when they're talking to Stephen Fry and he's like, aliens don't exist, and no, we don't do any of that sort of stuff, that's Torchwood and all that nonsense. They took the planet, they took Earth repeatedly. All this stuff has gone on. Aliens have invaded Earth I don't know how many times. So I get that it's a reboot. I get it's a soft reboot, but at the same time, you've got I'm not even talking about the continuity of going back before Christopher Eccleston. I'm talking just that continuity of the new Who.
Yeah.
It's really difficult to have someone with a straight face saying that.
Yeah, I think for me, it was kind of a misstep anyway to have kind of written Unit out as such, and to a lesser extent Torchwood as well. But the line of, in my head it made a bit of sense, because they accepted that aliens existed, but in the same way as MI6 do not have any jurisdiction within the United Kingdom, and MI5 do not have any jurisdiction outside of the United Kingdom. To me, it was as if they saw Unit and Torchwood as being that third division who dealt with the extraterrestrial stuff.
No, I get that. It was just the impression that I got from the way he was talking was like none of that had happened.
Well, no, because he did say that's what we've got Unit and Torchwood for, so we don't look into it. Is what he was saying.
But then the whole thing with the Master guy, or who he was playing, was she was sort of saying, he was the only one because
because he kept the files.
Stuff. Yeah, but he was sort of saying he was always kind of vilified because no one believed him.
That's true, actually. That was I think there's an element of you set something up but then decide to not go with it.
Mm-hmm.
Possibly because I say the way those two, you're right, those two sort of scenes are actually in total dichotomy.
Yeah.
So yes, that's a fair point.
Because he was kind of almost like, wow, I can't believe it, this actually is real, and I had to just put my ignore hat on and just go with it. But it did sort of gripe me a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, going back to it, it's like the fact that he was handing out the toys as well, just willy-nilly to untrained people. And then the fact that, the two Australian security guys just completely ignored all bodyguarding protocols when they thought that they were under attack. But as I say, that's my specific level of nerdiness.
But also,
I'm not going to go too much into it.
Yeah. But also as well, it's supposed to be they reckon it's an alien invasion or the forefront of an alien invasion, and you send 2 people to guard like one of your most valuable assets.
Yeah, it's fair point. I was gonna make a counterpoint, but there isn't one.
There isn't one. Do you know what I mean?
But yeah, as I say, it's just that to me, and it's kind of, Russell T Davies was as guilty of it, of like, just kind of like almost saying things because it was something cool to say.
Yeah.
So it's and Stephen Moffat did it as well on occasion. As much as I'm a bit more of a fan of Moffat's writing on the whole, he did the same thing. At the end of the day, it's family drama.
Yeah, and it was a small, and to be honest, it was a gripe, but it didn't spoil my enjoyment.
Yeah, and exactly, and as I say, I came out of that episode excited for part 2, and with that sense of mystery as well.
Yeah.
So that's good. So speaking of part 2 then, Amy, do you want to give us some thoughts on part 2?
Right, so Geek Syndicate continuity for those who don't know. I'm a computer science teacher.
I work in IT, sorry.
Yeah, and one of my heroes is Ada Lovelace. Now, at first, when the character appeared and she said her name was Ada, a big part of me was like, don't do Ada. Just leave Ada alone. She deserves her own episode. And I was a little bit excited when Ada Lovelace was on it to start with. And then they wasted her. And I'm sorry guys, this is going to go into a big rant, because in my opinion, they played her as like the helpless Victorian, oh, what should I do sort of character. And that is not who Ada Lovelace was. Queen Victoria wrote about Ada Lovelace in her diaries, not too fondly because of how forceful she was as a person. And she would have known what a computer was. The word computer existed in Victorian times. And Charles Babbage absolutely adored her. If anything, Charles Babbage would be asking Ada to explain things, because, yeah, he could make the pretty computers, but it was Ada who understood them. And they just wasted her and they wasted Noor. Those should have been 2 separate episodes, because also all the spy communication stuff that Noor would have done and all the computery stuff Ada would have done, we didn't even see. It was all done behind the scenes. And it was like, oh, look, we did this in the past and now you're scuppered. It's like, no, I want to see what she did. So, yeah, the further away from the episode I'm getting, the more angry about the episode, because they wasted 2 fantastic characters in our history. And the worst thing is that they wasted them and they were still better than the companions in that episode.
Do you know? Right, so
Sorry.
just to sort of dive in, I felt on a positive with the current companions, I felt this was probably the best use of them compared to how they were used in the last series.
Oh yeah, completely.
But saying that, Ada and Noor, I actually came out the episode going, and why aren't they the companions?
Exactly. Ada Lovelace as a companion to the Doctor would be amazing.
I think both of them would have worked.
Yeah.
And both of them would have brought different. And in the limited time they had, I warmed to them. I thought they were like feisty, they were cool, and they interplay off the 3 of them worked really well. They were useful, even with what they were given to do. And I suppose some of it is the whole kind of, I'm just a bit tired of modern day companions. And I think they just bring something a bit, having companions from different areas just brings something a bit fresh to the table. And as someone quite pointed out, I didn't know anything about is her name Noor? I can't.
Noor, yeah. Noor Khan.
Yeah, I didn't know anything. I'll put my hand up and go, Ada Lovelace, I didn't know anything about her, and I went and read up to her because people were kicking off about certain aspects. And one of the things I sort of read up on, which is what people were saying, I was like, ooh, that is a good point, is that basically when the Doctor drops her back home and sort of says bon chance and then disappears or whatever, a year later she gets shot by the Nazis.
Well, yeah, worse than that. She gets betrayed by
a
French person.
Yeah,
spends
captured.
6 months in prison, transferred to another prison, and then gets executed.
Yeah, and I think it's the fact that she has a conversation with the Doctor saying, was it always be like this? And the Doctor sort of says, no, this will all pass when there's people like you around. And I think it felt, especially after the little bit of research I did afterwards with both of them, it almost felt like, and Doctor Who writers, if you're listening, I'm not trying to diss you, I'm just saying as I called it. It almost felt like someone went on Wikipedia.
Yeah.
And it'd be really great. We need some characters that a Doctor can interact with throughout time.
Yeah.
And they went, oh, we've got Ada Lovelace and we've got Norma Radio Opera. Oh yeah, that would work really well. And they haven't read far enough down through the Wikipedia to sort of go, oh, by the way, you need to know that actually this is what happened to her. This is how she died, for them to work that into the story. Because when you look at when they did, it's a very different story, but you look at when they did Van Gogh.
Yeah, exactly.
And I didn't know, again, I didn't really know much about Van Gogh until I watched that episode, and I think the fact that they had that brilliant episode and they think they've changed Amy thinks, she's changed his life, and he's not going to die. And then they go back to the gallery and
nothing's changed.
Yeah. He's still committed suicide or whatever. Really kind of brought that home. And it wasn't then just like it wasn't a fun episode, but you know what I mean? And I think in this situation, they needed to have something like that. They needed to have her sort of saying to the Doctor, tell me this will get better, and her kind of saying that, even saying the bon chance, but then maybe saying to someone else, I couldn't do anything because it's a fixed point, but actually, a year from now, she blah, 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 blah. Because if you're trying to bully yourself, which is what Chris Chibnall keeps saying, oh, we're trying to be more educational than we have been in the past and blah, 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 then be educational.
Yeah.
So an easy way they could have done that was kind of a end of things scene where the fam are back together again. There's a bust of Nor. I can't remember which garden, but there's a garden in London and there's a bust of her. And they could have had some conversations at that bust about, fighting and getting through it all together. And then that bust just being there and that being like closing shot.
Yeah, I think they had a lot to pack in the last sort of 10 minutes. There was a lot to pack in with the Master and Gallifrey and all that. However, I still feel they could have worked it in. She could have even have told Ada, even though she didn't wipe Ada's memory. Ada could have said, oh, that woman, she was amazing. Oh, I would like, what happens to her? And the Doctor's got to fire it. What's wrong? It's like, well, actually, a year from now, she's blah, 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 and she's executed. And it's like, well, why didn't you tell her? Why did you say that to her? Well, what else could I do? I couldn't change it. Do you know what I mean? Something showing, but it just felt a little bit like, hey, I've used you, I've dropped you off. Oh, well, have a good death. Laters. It just...
Yeah.
But I didn't know that until after I watched the episode, to be fair. So I just drifted along with it.
But as you say, Chris will keep saying it's going to be more educational. So that's the kind of thing you need in there.
Yeah.
It's all very well and good to essentially give people a name that they can then Wikipedia, but you need to be truthful to the characters in that sense and have some kind of level of actual involvement to it. So I think, you guys sort of covered what I was going to say about the wasted opportunities with the guest characters. How do you feel it hung as a part 2 for part 1? Because I don't feel it did.
I don't feel it. Apart from it had the same baddies, it didn't really feel like the same episode.
It didn't feel like it was Spyfall part 2 to me.
No, it didn't.
So here's what I liked. I liked the stuff through time and the Master popping up through time.
Yeah, I love that.
And when he was the Nazi, and what I thought was really clever, when he turned up and he was like a Nazi with a lot of Nazis, I was like, hold up a minute. I see a flaw here. I get you the Master. I get the whole confidence thing. But you're an Asian dude, and they're Nazis. I'm pretty sure,
that wouldn't have flown.
That wouldn't have flown. And the fact that he just literally, that you can imagine in a conversation, someone, maybe even the actor went, how's this going to work? I'm Asian, they're Nazis. And the fact that she basically says that to him, what? How's that work?
Not exactly the Aryan ideal.
Yeah. and he just drops in a line about, whatever,
Perception
timey-wimey
filter.
magic stuff. Yeah. It didn't matter what he said. The fact that he said something, I was like, okay, I'm all good.
Yeah, to address it. Although the one thing that I didn't like about that was where she sonics it at the end and goes, "Oh, that's easy enough to remove." It's like, well, how they going to recognise him then?
Yeah.
Because he's no longer the guy they've been working for.
That's a good point, actually. He's just
He's
the Asian dude.
He's now just an Asian dude in a Nazi.
Which is still, I mean, no matter how you slice it, it's still not going to be a good position for him.
Well, no.
I'll just leave it at that. But yeah, that's a very good point, actually. I did like the fact when he then turns up late and he's like,
77 years.
I'm just pissed off. I've had the worst 77 years or whatever it is. I thought that was quite funny. So I liked all of that stuff. I had no idea what the heck was going on the other side of things. The whole plan, I was like, what? The stuff with Lenny's mum, what? Why? I was confused. And then even at the end, when it all gets revealed that he gives the big speech and then it all goes pear-shaped and he just runs off.
Yeah.
Like, so has he been caught? Is he going to prison? What now? Yeah.
So here's the other thing, right? Obviously, the plan was turn people into human hard drives. Why?
Yes.
Yeah.
What are you gonna?
And why have they been like spying on us for like probably hundreds of years to turn us into hard drives?
And wiping out the spies.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's the thing. I mean, in my head, and I realise I completely made this up. It was so that they could inhabit this reality by using us as vessels.
Well, that's how I thought it was.
That's what I thought as well.
But again, I was talking to Lauren about it, and she was going, did I miss something? Because in her head, it was just they wanted extra storage because they'd got no storage in their world. And I was like, yeah, I don't think they actually explained it. I just thought this was the case.
Yeah. Because they made such a big deal about saying the DNA was rewritten at the beginning. And they were I just thought they were hollowed out, is kind of what they were saying. And these were sort of energy-looking dudes, and I just thought that was why they were doing it. And the fact that they kept making a big thing about him being 7% other than human, but even that they made a big thing about. I'm like, yeah, okay, but what did the 7% do to you?
Yeah, because his 7% was different as well, because he was going to be kept as an actual human.
Yeah.
Because he made a big point about that, didn't he? Some of us will be here as guides, or I don't know, whatever. So yeah, I mean, for me, it just didn't, as I say, it didn't seem to follow on neatly from the first episode. It was a complete tonal shit. I was expecting more spy stuff. I thought, as you say, the Master stuff was brilliant.
Yeah.
I could watch that all day. But yeah, the actual the I can't even think what they're called now, but the transdimensional alien dudes, their plan was never fully explained. I didn't particularly like the fact that it was kind of like, oh, we kind of broke into his office and rewrote the Silver Lady statue, because plot needs to wind up.
Can I just add something geeky nerdy about the Silver Dancing Lady statue? Babbage actually had a Silver Dancing Lady statue, and that's how him and Ada Lovelace got talking at one of his parties. So the Silver Lady, however, there are no sketches of it. Nobody knows what happened to it. So we just have these written commentaries about how everyone loved his Silver Lady dancing statue. So just
well, now we know what happened to it. The Master gave it to Lady Henry.
Yeah.
Exactly. But I really don't
Yeah.
think it looked like that. I think it looked more like traditionalist, probably. But anyway.
But I mean, I still enjoyed it. I'm not saying I didn't enjoy it.
I enjoyed it.
But I think, I know we were talking about Star Wars earlier, so I don't want to go down that road. But again, it's that thing of the more time, the more distance I put between myself and the second episode, the more I'm like, what now?
I mean, part of it is, we mentioned this sort of in the last series reviews as well. Part of the problem is because we're kind of watching them knowing we're going to do these things, so you do start thinking about the episodes more critically as well.
Yeah.
And it's like, when Doctor Who first came back, I certainly wasn't doing reviews for Geek Syndicate because I didn't start doing them until Matt Smith's season. So I think there was almost more of a willingness of me to just enjoy it, and it was just if I was having a chat with someone, like if I was talking to you or Dave or someone, and you kind of have a laugh and a joke about it. But because now we are looking at them critically and we're talking about them in this kind of forum, it sometimes comes over that we're not enjoying something when we are.
Yeah.
And for all its faults, both episodes I enjoyed. I enjoyed the ending to and the kind of the setup to that was the end of this of part 2 with the Master and Gallifrey and the Doctor. And I just loved the line of, I could tell you, but why would I make it easy for you? Just to be spiteful.
Yeah.
And that was one of my favourite lines in the whole
thing. The way
thing.
he delivered it as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
The way that he delivered those last lines was complete and utter rage at everyone and spite at everyone. It's fantastic.
And I think as well, the fact that he kind of says, it was the whole thing we was kind of saying, have you been home lately? And
someone destroyed it.
Yeah, someone destroyed it. I genuinely did not believe it was him. Until he said. I thought it was going to be, that was going to be the big thing of like, who could have been more powerful enough to destroy the Time Lords, and they've almost got to, at some stage, they've almost got to join forces to kind of discover who's done it. And the fact that he then turns up and says, well, actually,
what I meant was I killed them all.
Yeah, I was like, wow, okay, yeah, I'm into that. That's all right.
I mean, I'm on two minds about it, because on the one hand, I loved how it was presented in the execution of it, and also this kind of new mystery that was vaguely hinted at last season as well, about this timeless child and all the rest of it. But there is a big part of me as well that's like, you wipe out Gallifrey, you bring Gallifrey back, you wipe out Gallifrey.
Make your mind up.
Yeah, and it's and I know it's different showrunners with different ideas, but was it necessary to completely wipe it out again at this stage, or could you have just kept it in its pocket universe and not used it? But as I say, it was really powerful. So, and it is, as I try to make out in these things, I know full well I am just a fan. I am not a writer. I am not the showrunner. It is nothing to do with me other than to enjoy it or not enjoy it as I watch it. But for me, that kind of felt a little bit kind of like, okay, we're just going back on ourselves again.
I do think, I see what you're saying. But something else I wanted to say from a positive tip is, and again, it's going to be a lot of the positivities around the Master, but I think because his performance was one of those performances where you kind of, if you're in the room, you got to kind of up your game.
Yeah.
And I think it brought out because Jodie Whittaker can act, do you know what I mean? She's a fantastic actress. And I think his performance gave her something to work off in a different way to what the others do.
Yes.
And that last sequence where, even though she doesn't really say that much, where he's kind of telling her he's destroyed Gallifrey and all this stuff is going on, and he disappears, and then she throws that thing across the TARDIS, and she's just sitting there, it closed in on her face, and you can see this kind of sadness and rage and on her face. And then she has the conversation with the companions, and they're like, we don't know anything about it. And she's like, okay, go and ask me. And then it's kind of like they ask her, and she kind of tells you everything and tells the audience about the Master. So at that point, if you don't know who the Master is, you then know.
Yeah.
But it's the fact that they then go, oh, can we see it? And she just goes another time.
Yeah.
And that moment, I was like, finally, I'm seeing I'm seeing her version of the Doctor, the kind of other side, which isn't the laughy, jokey, everything's a one-liner waiting to happen. You're seeing that kind of other side to her.
Yeah.
Which I didn't see in the first series even.
No, she kind of had
moments, but not in the same way.
And they never followed them through. It's like you had the moment with the oh god, which episode am I thinking of? With the space racist, where she kind of has a big monologue on him, and you think, yeah, this is the Doctor, but then nothing sort of comes of it. Yeah, and there was a few moments like that in the first season, and just the fact that I know a lot of the camera was on Sacha Dhawan during that bit where he's explaining what happened, but they kept cutting back to Jodie, and just her face just told the story. She didn't need to say words; it was all there.
Yeah. Also, I completely forgot the scene on the Eiffel Tower between the two of them.
Oh, that was good.
And there's a bit where she sort of, and it was just wicked because he's delivering his monologue, he's chewing scenery left, right, and centre, and she just goes, she's like, when does it end? When does it end for you? When does all this end? And I just thought, finally, this is what I want to. This is what I've paid my money to see.
Yeah.
This is what our TV license should be going on.
Yeah. This is what I want to see from a master, master and doctor. This is the sort of interactions that I want. Yeah. So I think the two of them and their interactions in that episode.
I just want more.
Yeah.
I just really want more of those two.
I'm going to be gutted next episode.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to more Master. I must admit, it more than I've since the relaunch, more than I've ever really gone. I really want to see more of X, Y, or Z. Because I like Missy, but it was never kind of like I wish they'd bring Missy back every week. But yeah, I could quite happily just have the Master in the background of every episode from now on, for this season at least.
Yeah, I loved that bit where he walked in with the Nazis and he had like the walking stick and he just bangs the walking stick and they just like just machine gunned the floor because he just like because that's where you would be, wouldn't you? And then he just walks out. There's no like
It doesn't say anything, just looks, waits.
Yeah.
Walks out. It's
dude's got swag.
Yeah, proper good job. And the other thing as well is it's and this is the last thing I want to say really before we wrap up because time's getting on. For me it's kind of that way of physically he is unimposing, and yet he has so much presence.
Yeah.
In those scenes, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was literally that flip of at the end of the first episode going from the O character, the O persona, into the Master, and then just seeing him this episode just completely different. It's one of those kind of things. It's rare that someone has that full of that full amount of a transformation.
Do you know what it was like? It was, and it's the last thing I'll say, but it's the other way around. So the way I look at it is, you remember when you had Derek Jacobi, and he was the Master for like about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then it flipped, and you got John Sim, and you just got the I'm the crazy Master, I'm the insane Master. It felt like you got in that last 5 minutes of episode 1, you got the John Sim Master, and then it flipped, and you kind of, it's like he settled into like being.
See, I took it that first crazy part was him just giddy at the excitement.
Yeah.
I've done all this, and that complete hyperness of it all.
Yeah, it was literally just that enjoyment at having beaten the Doctor, effectively.
Yeah. And then he just settles into it, and then he's just this kind of, he was just ruthless, and it wasn't even. Yeah, a couple of times you got a bit kind of, a little bit jokey, a bit crazy, but it was just different. It was just different. It was just a different performance, and I really enjoyed it. I really, really liked him, and as I said, it gave me a different side of the Doctor, this Doctor, which is what I liked as well.
Yeah, and that's what the Master should do, because it is essentially you're looking at almost your brother, for want of a better word.
Yeah.
So and we're all different with family. We're all different with people who we see as our equal, or possibly even our better. You do that. You step up your game, and that was clear with the both of them. So yeah, I mean, anyone got anything else to do? I'm happy with that. I'd say I despite all the criticisms and stuff that I've gone through, I enjoyed both episodes for what they were. More so part 1, and. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how this season progresses, and I'm looking forward to more Master.
Yeah.
More Master.
Too. More Master. Send one of the companions home. That's just me.
Yeah, me too. Okay, let's finish up. Which companion would you send home?
Ryan.
You'll take a moment to think about it.
To be honest with you, last season. It was Ryan I'd get rid of, but I would have kept Graham and Yaz. To be honest, I think they're doing Bradley Walsh with this so far this season. These 2 episodes, he's been more jokey and kind of almost like the comic relief character, whereas last season he wasn't. He was a very serious character, and he was almost like the real human one.
Yeah.
And he was the one I would have kept. This time round, the only one I would really keep is Yaz.
Yeah.
Personally.
Yeah, because it feels a little bit like you've got 2 comedy sidekicks and 1 serious sidekick.
Yeah.
At the moment, you've got a double act, and then you've got someone who's trying to be serious.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like the guy who's playing Ryan, and I like how he's acting and all that. I just don't like how they're writing him.
No, exactly. Yeah, it's nothing against Tosin Cole. I think he's doing great work with what he's given, and he did do last season as well. It's just he's not given a lot.
Yeah, that's the problem. There's too many companions.
Yeah.
The TARDIS is too full.
Yeah, which says a lot for the TARDIS.
Exactly, and I think that's where we should end.
Yes.
Cool. So thanks for listening. I've certainly enjoyed this chat. It's always good to have the occasional rant and stuff. We'll see how the season develops. But yeah, you can find us at Geek Syndicate. You can email us at geeksyndicate.co.uk. We're on Twitter, Facebook group. It's a closed group, but if you put an invitation in, I'm sure Barry or one of his gatekeepers will let people in, because you have an army of gatekeepers, don't you, B?
Yeah, I do. All me, but yeah.
Yeah, clones. So yeah, just find us. You can find Amy on Twitter at Little Witch. I'm at Wedgedock. Barry is at Geek Syndicate. Do let us know what you thought about the episode.
Cool.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.